Yeah, we're live. We're live
Yeah.
now, I think. Yes. Right. Welcome, everyone. I'm really sorry for the late start. We've had a few technical difficulties, but thank you so much for joining us for this really important conversation about South Asian baby loss for South Asian Heritage Month. So I'm just going to kick things off with a really short presentation. It's about 5 slides long. And it's just to introduce the conversation and our panel guests, who are amazing people that have come to join me tonight. So hopefully you can all see the screen. And Binash, can you cut to the next slide, please? Thank you. So just about me, what I'm going to do is just to do a little reading from the ebook that I'm currently writing, which is Understanding South Asian Baby Loss. It was supposed to be released for this event, but due to circumstances out of my control, it's not here yet, but hopefully soon in autumn. So I'm just going to do a little reading to introduce myself. My name is Amneet Graham, and I am an Indian woman born and raised in the UK. My husband and I had struggled with fertility for over 2 years. In August 2017, we fell pregnant with our first child. In September 2017, we discovered that our baby no longer had a heartbeat. This devastating news changed our lives, and we knew that the experience of any future pregnancy was going to be very difficult for both of us. A year after our loss, I was 6 months pregnant with our second child. I began work to raise awareness of baby loss. There was a real gap in support for people pregnant again after loss. This led me to start a support group in my area. In May 2019, I founded Willow's Rainbow Box. This is a registered charity in the UK that supports families going through pregnancy after loss. It took a year for me to speak out in public about our loss. It worried me that people might talk about me. I felt concerned about what people would say. I was raised in a Western society, but I'm still influenced by my cultural background. Our loss was a difficult subject to talk about. I was desperate to talk, but I did not know how to approach the subject with an extended family. I feared judgment as well as embarrassment. Although my immediate family and friends knew what we had gone through, it still felt like a lonely time. I felt like I was the only person who'd been on this horrific journey, but the statistics show that this just can't be the case. UK baby loss charity Tommy's says that an estimate of 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. People don't talk about it, and it can make baby loss feel isolating. I wanted to change the silence. This is what made me start to speak out about our loss. The more people speak out about baby loss, the more it will break the taboo around the topic. The purpose of this book is to explore issues that might affect South Asian families. It's important to remember that these issues don't affect all South Asian families, but these are some issues that may be present in the background and have an impact. Next slide, please. Not sure if it's working. There we go. Why are we here today? Why have I called this conversation? Well, I spoke to the panel briefly before this event, and I wanted to get people's feedback about why they think this is an important conversation that we need to have. So we've had breaking the silence about child loss in Indian subcontinent, to build community, be visible to others going through this, because there is too much stigma around it, of shame, guilt, not being good enough, ultimately making you feel even more lonely and unworthy. Support for women when they have such a loss from family, friends, and the NHS. Baby loss is important to talk about because it can be a very lonely space to be in. The reality is that baby loss is sadly much more common than we know it to be. If we don't start talking about it, then we can't support each other and address issues as we would in anything else that we do, and to advocate for research. Next slide, please. I feel like it's really important to build this comfortable, safe space for us to talk today. So in this space, if we can agree that we respect each other's views and opinions, We can switch off or step away if we need to. Obviously, baby loss is a very emotive subject, and I know it can be difficult to talk about at times. We can bring our whole selves to the conversation. That includes if you've got any pets running about or anything like that, that's fine. We're all supportive of each other, and we will only share what we are comfortable sharing. This is a live event. It's being recorded. It will be on YouTube and social media available for people to watch afterwards. So please just share what you're comfortable sharing. And that includes people in the audience who want to leave comments for us. You can comment on the social medias or on YouTube, and I believe that the comments come through to us. So we should be able to answer some of those questions through the event. And then my final slide, can I have the next slide? My final slide is just some signposting, because as I said, I know it's an emotive, it's a difficult topic, and it wouldn't be ethical of me to hold this event without giving some further signposting should anyone need it afterwards. So I've just got some great charities and organisations on there, some of which are represented today by the panel. So yes, please take note of these websites and numbers, and they will be able to support you should you need it. So I'm going to do a quick, I'd like some introductions from my panel, really quick introductions, a couple of lines about who you are and your name, and then we'll get the conversation going. So I'm going to start with you, Binash, because I'm going to pick on you, sorry. I can't hear. I don't know, are you on? Why can't I hear?
Ooh, is that any better?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? Hello?
I can hear. Is everyone good? I can hear. Are you all right, Binash? Should I pass to someone else? Yeah? She disappeared. Can I pass to someone else? Well, I think she might be having some technical issues. Can I pass to Tina, Dr. Tina Mystery?
Hopefully this works. Can you all hear me? How are you? Yeah. Woo! Celebration dance. Thank you so much, Amneet, for inviting me along. So I'm Dr. Tina Mystery. I'm a UK trained psychologist. I work in private practice, and I run a couple of things. I run a Brown Therapist Network, which supports South Asian therapists to grow into their practice. And I also co-founded another Mother Story project, which is a platform for South Asian mothers, where we explore the taboos that South Asian mothers experience, including baby loss, including menopause, all sorts of things. And yeah, so we've got tons happening around motherhood in the South Asian community. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And if I can just get you to pass on to the next person, and then we'll all pass on to each other, if that's okay.
So I'll pick Sugata.
Yeah. Thank you, Tina. Hi, my name is Swagata Majumdar. I'm from India, and I do a lot of things. Like I'm a jack of all many trades, but I'm also the mother of twin boys who are now in heaven. My boys were Gamma and Ganu, and I lost them last year in Jan 2020. And that's when I realized that there's very little support for bereaved mothers in India. And I decided to tell my story and go on social media talking about it. and look where it has taken me today. Like, very few people from India actually speak about their losses. In South Asian countries, baby loss is a huge taboo. I don't know why. And especially in India, the northern part of India and the southern part of India still speaks about it, but the northern part doesn't. So I decided to create as much awareness I can with my blogs, with my social media posts, and along with three other mothers, bereaved mothers, we created India's first website, first social media page, which is called After Baby Loss. And we're very new. It's just been probably 6 months now, but we've been hearing a lot from bereaved mothers who did not have a platform so far, but now they have. So yes, I have lost my twin sons, but now I have lots of mothers, lot of people like you supporting and hearing our voice. So thank you, Amneet. Thank you for having me here today. So good to meet all of you.
Thank you. Are you able to pass on to someone?
Yeah, I would love to hear from Sheetal. I've been waiting to talk to her. So yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Savi Sheetal Joshi. I recognize many people here on the panel, some incredible mothers here who I have formed wonderful friendships with, where our grief has kind of brought us together and connected us very deeply. So Swagata, you and I met on social media and we discovered both our boys, Swagata's twin boys and my son Shivai, they're both born on the same day. So we like to think of them as playing in heaven together. Harps as well, and my sister from another mother, Madhuri, here as well, who was the very first person who picked up the phone and called me when my second son, Shivai, died at 8 months old. And Madhuri was the one who I was able to wholeheartedly talk to in that moment when I felt very alone and sad and very much on the verge of depression. And since that journey, I've started to talk more publicly about baby loss, my experiences around miscarriages before Shivai was born. And in 2019, I did a video about the lessons that I'd learned after loss, experiencing Shivai's loss. And that video got picked up by a number of baby loss charities, one of which was SANS. And SANS and I, we started talking much more about, the awareness that we wanted to both bring to the Asian community, where we also wanted to kind of make sure that all of their services had access to that community. And that led to becoming an ambassador for SANS and now a board of trustee member also with them. So I feel like Shivai not being in my life has taught me so much. It's given me a lot of purpose, and I'm extremely grateful in his memory and his honor to carry on talking about raising awareness around baby loss and being connected to some incredible parents and mothers like you. And Amneet, thank you so much for inviting me on this panel and doing this, because talking about baby loss within our community is so important. Within the Black and Asian communities, baby loss is the highest in terms of rate in that community. And recently with SANS, we have launched a survey which we've sent out to the South Asian community, asking them about their experiences around when they have been bereaved through baby loss, and what support they got, what support they haven't got. And what we're hopeful about is that from gathering that information, we can then actually start to put things into place in terms of action plans and further help that community even more. So thank you for doing this, because it's very much closely related to what we all want to do. And I'm going to pass to Harps.
I had a feeling you were going to do that. Hi all, hi everyone. My name's Harpreet. Everyone calls me Harps. Yeah, I know a few of you on here as well, but those I don't. A warm hello. Thanks, Amneet, as well, again, for having me up here. I know it was quite a bit of I was worried about coming on because I was like, oh, I don't know what you're going to ask me, and it's kind of the first time I'm actually verbally talking, probably first on an actual platform. So please be kind to all of us, whoever's asking for questions. So my name's Harpreet. I work by day. I have a 9-to-5 job, but otherwise I am a personal trainer and a coach. Have been for about six years now. I unfortunately lost 3 pregnancies in the space of 18 months. So first was December 2019. Then I lost my son in April 2020 at 4 months pregnant. And then I had my most recent loss was at 12 weeks in January. That's just gone. So it was all very, I don't even know how to put it. It was all, let's just say it wasn't what I expected, especially in terms of when you are somebody who comes from like a health and wellness background, you don't expect, you blame yourself because you don't expect your body to fail. I suppose that's the easiest way I can put it. And I was on Instagram for a while before any of this started, and I stopped obviously over that period, and I've only recently started again. I started my training again once I could pick myself back up to be able to feel better mentally and physically. And I feel like my losses have taught me a lot about how mental health is just as important as the physical aspect, and how much it was like Shita was saying, I was on the verge of depression myself, to be honest. And some days I feel like I am, like the anxiety, the depression is just there. It comes and it goes. You have a good day, and then an hour later you could just be in tears over something, and it's still there, very raw. So I'm trying to use my platform on Instagram. I mean, I've started fitness classes, which I do 3 times a week for women, but I also am trying to help women who may be struggling with fertility, with baby loss. And I post things about that. I've only recently started talking about it, and I hope I'm helping people, because I hope not only women but couples, because the men struggle too. Like my husband kindly wrote out a post about how he felt, and I got so much feedback from Asian men saying, just thank you that you acknowledge that it's a two-way thing. It's both sides. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to raise awareness, and I hope like you all, I hope we're able to help talk about this a little bit better, so we can support each other and help each other, because it is such a lonely feeling. It really is. And it really brings you to your knees, and you really have to fight to get back up again. So, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'll pass it on to Shima.
Hi everybody. I just really want to thank the mothers who've shared so far and shared the stories and shared your children with us. It is not easy to do that. So I just want to take a moment to recognise that and to celebrate you all as mums. So my name is Shima. I'm a British Pakistani. In my day job, I work as a doctor. I'm not here in that capacity. So I'm a mum of 3. My eldest son, Altair, was stillborn in 2017 after my 4th round of IVF. I was subsequently very lucky to have 2 other children who are both under the age of 2.5, which brings its own challenges. So I guess I've experienced infertility, stillbirth, high-risk pregnancy, pregnancy after loss. And I don't know if you ever come through it, but I think I am probably through the darkest times now. And I'm very proud that my experience has led me to become a trustee of Tommy's, which is a charity that supported me through my pregnancies. And it's their research which saved both my living children's lives. So I owe them everything. So thank you, Amneet, for really inviting me to join this conversation today. It's hugely important. And I think I am going to hand over to Banash, who's now joined us.
Hi, can you hear me now? Okay, that's a resounding nod. So thank you, everybody. I've been breaking up, but I've been hearing everybody who's here. So I just want to say thank you. And it's so hard to share our personal experiences and put it out into a public forum, but this is exactly the kind of conversations we need to have. My name is Binash Nazmi, and I'm a specialist cultural liaison midwife. I work within the NHS to look at health inequalities and how we can improve outcomes for our Black and Asian communities specifically. And the reality is, in my work, I have seen that often the services we have that are available are underutilized by our Black and Asian communities. There's often when there's been loss, there's been a lot of stigma around it, and the lack of sometimes wanting to make the memories or being able to access the memory boxes in the same way, because there's been family constraints or people in the family haven't wanted to have those kind of things in the home. So I think it's important that we have these conversations and people realize what is available and what they can access. I have two organizations, and both my organizations, we support and advocate for people from Asian and Black communities. We also tackle those stigmatized conversations that's already been mentioned, like infertility, like loss, like mental health. The reality is all of these things actually go hand in hand, and it's a cycle, and we actually don't talk about one of them. And once you start pulling that thread, it unravels, and we need to start pulling those threads, and we need to start having those conversations. So thank you all for participating in the panel and having these conversations, and thank you, Amneet, for inviting us and having this opportunity to talk about this. I'm not sure who's been, because I've been popping in and out, so I'm going to let Amneet go to who should be next.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hutton, and I run the charity Kicks Count. I'm also a bereaved mother, and at Kicks Count, we're obviously trying to reduce baby loss and also raise awareness of rainbow babies and things like that. I have actually got my own rainbow baby running around behind me. And while at Kicks Count, we run lots of literature and do our projects, I'm personally very interested in learning about the different problems that face different communities and how we as a national charity can do our bit to support that and help change the narrative around that. I also grew up in Singapore, so I have some vague idea of sort of the different communities and the different challenges they face, but obviously don't have anywhere near enough information. I'm really, really interested to do that and do our bit. And shall I pass on to Marjorie?
Hi everyone. I think I'm a bit of a gatecrasher in the panel. I don't know if I'm meant to be speaking at this point. So happy to stay silent or to speak, however you.
Please join us.
Oh, thank you. I've just stumbled across this, and I'm so glad I have. I couldn't get in, so Sheethal kindly sent me the link, and I was like, thank God. So my name is Madhu, and I lost my son Charles 18 years ago. And like I hear, I too struggled. We had IUI, we had IVF. So when I conceived, I think we did about 15 tests because we couldn't believe that we conceived. And, you know, my son, I was a baby boy. You all know, that feeling, and you're constantly holding your belly, and, you see that week by week growth chart, and your love just spills over. And we went through all of that. But at 29 weeks, I gave birth in a very traumatic way. I had to have an emergency cesarean. It would have happened at home, but he was breached, so it was very, very traumatic, and I nearly lost my life. But what came out of that is that I realized nobody wants to talk about loss. Just as for some people, they don't know what to say. For others, they say the wrong thing. I had, from my own flesh and blood, I had comments like, what you do in your last life comes back to you in this life. And my sister-in-law said to me, well, we don't celebrate the dead, we celebrate the living, and wouldn't we all want to, you know? So the comments that I was getting just shocked me, and I thought, I can't be alone in this journey. So that led me to form my foundation, which is called the Vishal Foundation. And we don't offer support in the traditional way that so many of you, what you do is immense and so amazing. What we do is we have events that enable people we've all walked a different path, but we ended up in the same place with the loss of our child. So these events enable people to come together to honor and celebrate the child that was, be it miscarriage, neonatal death, or whatever it is. There is a place there for you, and we supply everything. And Sheetal came to this event, so she knows it. They're very, very special, and nobody wants to leave, because finally you're at a place where you can speak about your loss till the cows come home, and everyone is going to understand. So although he should be with me now, in his name, like I've heard in the panel, I've been able to support a lot of people. But what I realize is that 5 years to the day of losing him, I lost my baby daughter. But I don't really speak about her. I speak about him, but I don't really speak about her, because I feel people are going to say, there you go, she started again, another loss, and that's the sad reality. People don't understand. And it's so amazing to see this group of women who are trying to break this terrible stigma we have. So really, I'm here and I salute all of you. Thank you. Who shall I pass to? Is it Dr. Thumban? Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Amneet, for inviting me to this panel. I really commend all of you in talking about the losses that you had. I feel a little blessed in that I've not had a lived experience. But as a consultant working in a busy East London hospital with women of South Asian origin, I've had experience in working with women who've had baby losses. And I also work with pregnant women who have mental health challenges. And I have fought tooth and nail to set up this unique service, because I've always been told that why do pregnant women with mental health problems need a specialist clinic? But I've always said, if a woman with a medical problem, say for example, a heart disease or any other medical problem, will benefit from a joint clinic with two specialists, why not for pregnant women with mental health problems? So I think I have played a little part in setting up these specialist clinics, which women benefit from. And as Binash said, these come hand in hand. And losing a baby, it is a lifetime of sadness, and it just keeps coming back again and again. And women have been so strong that they just carry on with all these things happening in the background. So I feel I feel proud to be part of this panel, which comprises of such strong women who have the strength to talk about their experiences.
Thank you so much. I think hopefully we've heard from everyone. I'm not getting any shocked faces, so I think so. Thank you all for joining me. This is such an amazing event. I'm just so grateful to everyone. I feel a little bit overwhelmed and emotional, but I'm good. We're going to talk about a few different topics, and I've got some quotes from my book to support them. The first one we're going to talk about is gossip. Now, this comes up quite a lot. This is, I've been told that the fear of people gossiping is quite a big challenge to overcome, and it's a barrier that stops people talking about baby loss in these communities. So the quote that I've got is, I know of women within the family who have had miscarriages, and it suddenly becomes the talk of the town in a gossip sense rather than a supportive sense. So now I'm just going to open up the conversation about what my panel's experiences are. I mean, I've spoken to people who, you know, it goes right down to worrying about talking to their GP because they're worried about who they might see in the GP surgery. So I'm going to open it out to you. Please, someone start the conversation about gossip. Anyone? Okay, I'm going to pick on someone then. Pops.
What is it? Is it the face? Is that why I go? You know what? It's funny you pick on me because I was actually just going to say I put my hand up. It wasn't. I guess it wasn't more so gossip in terms of people actually gossiping about me. It was more so my mum's mindset, and obviously my mum comes from a very traditional background. You know, born in Punjab, and she moved here in like the 70s and stuff. So it was her when I put my first loss. I lost my first pregnancy in December 2019. And it took me a few weeks to physically recover. And when I did, I remember in January, trying to get back on Instagram and put up a post of me going back to the gym. And I put on there that I put up about my first loss and started a conversation with people that were following me. And I remember my aunt, so my mum's best friend, phoned her. I think it must have been about a week later, and obviously had heard from her daughter who follows me that this had happened, and said to my mum, "Oh, we're really sorry," and everything. My mum was shocked because she didn't know that I'd put it up, and I never really discussed it with her because I just thought, well, I don't know how I'm going to bring up the conversation with you, so I'm just going to do it without even telling you. So she, her words to me is as much as my mum, she loves me. She wants the best for me. But her words were, why did you do that? Why did you put it out there and put it up on basically a public platform? So now people know in our community. And I wasn't upset by it because I expected it. I expected her to react that because we've grown up like that. Everything is very hush hush in the South Asian community. Whether you're from a Black community, whether you're from a Indian community, a Pakistani community, it doesn't matter. The ethos, the behind the doors is all the same. You show everything that's good. You show how your child has got a degree and has passed their exams, but you don't talk about things that they're struggling with. And I, especially when I talk about it, because I have one living son who's 6 years old, and I don't want him to be a South Asian male growing up thinking it's not okay to talk, it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to be able to voice his emotions and feelings. I really feel very strongly about that because I just don't want him to feel like he's a boy and he's Indian, he can't talk about things, or he has to suppress it. The biggest thing for any of us, obviously, whether we're going through infertility or whether we have children or our baby losses, these children of ours are everything. And, you know, if you can do something for them later on that will stop them struggling with something, then why not? So I think that aspect of it was what really kind of pushed me. But the gossip side was just, I mean, I knew it was coming. I just didn't realize, I didn't think how quick it would go around. Like that, you know, it was like literally a week later, the phone rang and my mum was then talking to me. And I know now, you know, obviously the extended family or the extended a community that we are a part of know, although no one says anything to you because they don't know what to say, or they, you know, they say the wrong things, just like Madhuri was saying. So that's my experience of it at the moment.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's one of those, as you said, it is like everything is hush hush, and what you said, really, it was interesting that, you know, as soon as there's something like, you know, my child has got a degree, or like they've passed their exams, and it's like, yes, let's celebrate, let's shout this from the rooftops. But as soon as there's some sort of hardship going on, it's like we can't talk about that because people in the community will talk about us. And it's really difficult because the people going through baby loss, you know, in these communities are not just dealing with how hard baby loss is in general, but they're dealing with the difficulties of the cultural pressures as well. So it adds another dynamic. Does anyone else on the panel have anything to say about that?
I'll just add something to that, if that's okay.
Yep. My screen is very small, so yeah, there we go.
I was just going to say that, you know, my experience of that, the very first event I was invited to after Shivai had died, I remember feeling so anxious about going to that event. Firstly, I didn't want to go to it. And secondly, I didn't want to go to it because I thought everybody had been talking about me at that event. And I remember, you know, there were certain individuals that kept calling me and sort of putting that pressure on, saying, no, don't worry, you know, you'll be fine. We'll look after you. We're going to be around you. And that was putting even more pressure on me because I was just like, I just don't want to go anywhere. Like, just leave me alone for a bit, you know, don't put me under that pressure. Eventually I did go to it. And I remember walking in, I went dressed up in my sari, I did my makeup, did my hair, and that was almost like my armor helping me to sort of like walk in there, just know that I was all done up, and you know what, I wasn't ready to reveal like my raw self to people. And I just felt that was going to help me to sort of cope with that moment. And I remember walking into this wedding and I kept thinking that everyone is staring at me right now. Like everyone, I kept feeling like everyone is pointing the finger that that's the one that lost a child, or that's the one that had the miscarriage, or, you know, she's the one that couldn't have the second baby kind of thing. And it was so engrossed into my head that, you know, it really kind of, I was self-sabotaging my own mindset because of it. And actually a lot of people weren't doing that. In fact, a lot of people weren't doing that. They were ready in there to sort of like hug me and gather me and hold me and stuff like that. But I had put on this such, I had taken kind of like, you know, the fact that it happens, and I knew that people had known about, you know, him dying, and then that I'd had the miscarriages, that they're bound to, they must be gossiping about me because that's the only thing they can do, right? They've got nothing else to talk about, so it must be me that they're talking about. And it was quite, it was hard to come out of that mindset. And every time you did try and sort of like come out of that mindset, like Hart said, you know, there were moments where even I got told by my mum, why do you have to tell everybody? And she used to kind of say it from a place of, she was trying to protect me. And I was doing it because I was trying to heal from it. And I was trying to process everything out and talk about it. And every time I did that, you know, I had another mother who connected to me, like Swagata, like Madhuri, like Harps as well, right? And we started forming friendships. And I felt like in those friendships, I could talk to people like yourselves here more openly about what I was feeling and what I was going through, rather than go to my closest blood relatives. And I guess that, if there's anything that I've learned from the whole journey, it's that it's the people that you don't think are going to be in your life that suddenly just spring up and comfort you and take you through this journey together.
Thank you so much for that contribution. It sounds like it leads quite nicely into the next topic, actually, which was I was going to talk about intergenerational trauma and blame. When we're looking at the extended family and the mindsets and things that may have gone on that have caused those sort of perceptions and mindsets. I've got a quote here. My mother-in-law was more like, you should have looked after the baby better. You did something wrong. That is why this happened. So I'm going to open up the discussion about intergenerational trauma and blame and why these mindsets and opinions might be happening, and if anyone has any experiences of them from any of your perspectives, that would be great. And I think Binash might have something to say about this. So
Shima was prepared first. So I'll let Shima go first.
Okay.
Thanks, Binash. So I've very much felt blamed for lots of things that happened to me during my journey. I was quite old when I got married. For an Asian woman, I was in my late 30s. I married a white guy, so that also doubly stigmatized me. So there was a sense, I think, within my family and the wider community that I'd kind of brought this all on to myself. So the reasons I was struggling with my fertility were, that it was my fault because I'd prioritized my career and I hadn't married a Pakistani man. And then I definitely felt that when I lost my son, there was, no one ever said it, but I felt that perception that people would think that this would have happened because I had it coming to me. And there was already so much gossip within the community about me. And I think that's what really spurred me on to be so public about our loss right from the start. So from the moment we went into hospital, knowing that my son was going to be stillborn, I was very, very open about it on Instagram. And have continued to be open about it because it's really important for me to take ownership of my narrative and not let other people dictate that narrative for me. But you carry the sort of weight of expectation of your family and your community and the traditions and the cultures that they have brought over from Pakistan or from India or from Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. And often, my parents migrated here in their 60s. So, they brought over 1960s Pakistan, not even a modern Pakistan. So their ideas are quite old. So yeah, this particular issue really, really resonated with me. I feel like it's really shaped my experience.
Can I add something here, or Binash, do you want to go?
I just wanted to give context to intergenerational trauma, but you go ahead and please do share your experience. I think it's more important.
I would like to add something else that I experienced. My parents, they were extremely supportive of me going public about my loss, which honestly I did not expect. We did not expect as a family. My husband and I came to a decision where we decided to tell everybody that we have lost our twin sons, and that was how the entire world coming to know that I was even pregnant, because my pregnancy was full of turmoil, and very few people knew that I was pregnant. And my water broke at 25 weeks, and my babies came at 26 weeks, and they lived for just 2 days. So that was when we decided to tell our story. So I initially thought when I was sharing my story, my parents would be very against it, but strangely, they were for it. They were okay with me celebrating my children's lives. They were only here for 2 days, and I decided to celebrate their monthly birthdays. My parents were very, very happy to join in. They were happy to cut the cake and join in. And the other strange connection that I have had is with my mother in law, who also lost two babies before my husband. So I don't think she completely understood me or my cause, but she connected somehow. So this intergenerational loss and women going through it, I think um, for Indian women during their times, the generation above me during their times, probably they had this thing that they want to tell the world or they wanted people to know, but they were hushed up. So when they are seeing a woman in the next generation who's opening up about their loss, they try and make a connect. So once I started opening up about my loss, they were professors I had, they were relatives I had, there were mothers, other like 25 years senior to me, or like that from other generations. They all connected with me, and they were talking about their losses, and they said that one of them, she said, I have lost my girl some 27, 28 years ago, and nobody remembers my daughter. Nobody does, not even the father, but I do. And I'm making a connection with you now because I was hushed up then. And now is when I want to tell my story. Now, you can tell my story. I decided to put her story on social media, and she said, you can tell my story, just don't tag me, because in my circle it's still a taboo. So I want to tell my story, but just don't tag me, just don't let people know that I still exist and I have that mind frame. So there were a lot of people who said it doesn't look good that you share your dead baby's picture on Facebook. And there are a lot of people have said that um, you spread a lot of negativity by talking about your sons who just lived for 2 days. I think one of you talked about we don't celebrate the dead and we only celebrate the living. I think Madhuri, I was connecting to your story a lot because I heard that a lot of times. But these were some strange connections that I have made from the generation above me, women like me who were hushed up then but really want to open up now. And I'm really surprised. So I am connecting with a lot of women who are like that, who are from my grandmother's generation, who are from my parents' generation, and who have their story of miscarriage or a child loss to share, but haven't really found a soul to listen to them. I just wanted to share a positive bit about it. Yeah, Benash.
I think you've just beautifully described intergenerational trauma, actually, which is the fact that our parents were taught by their parents and the society and the systems and the traditions that they were part of, that they had to do this to survive. And they had faith, or they were expected to rely on faith, God's will, or, this is the way it's meant to be, and have your faith. But a lot of their issues and their mental health issues became things that they buried. And you see that in their health come up later on in life. But those lessons they've already taught their children, and some of their children have accepted that and they've taken that on and they're perpetuating that cycle and that circle. The other children are like, no, I have a privilege. I live in a different society. I live in a different time. There are supports and there are services out there for me. And I'm not going to let this cycle continue. And all of you here right now are breaking the cycle. So thank you for breaking that cycle, because only when we break that cycle and we heal ourselves do we heal and give the older generation an opportunity to heal themselves as well, by sharing their stories and giving them the opportunity to talk about their experiences, which are very, very real. And to the comment made earlier by Amaduri and you now, I just want to say, we don't it was something along the lines, we don't celebrate the dead, we celebrate the living. Well, no, because we do celebrate the dead. What about whole adult? When an adult passes away, we have, you know, the Tirvi and the Jotvi and all these traditions and all these anniversaries for the death of an adult who has lived a whole life. What about this baby who has lived the whole life in their parents' eyes, in the parents' heart? They have lived and they have been alive and they know you and you know them. So absolutely, we celebrate every baby and every child wherever they are. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really powerful. Thank you for all of your contributions. Yeah, I was just going to come to you because I think it looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well as everyone being here and, you know, being such powerful women, I think that NHS has, and groups like Tommy and Sam, they've paved the way for something very different. So I had, just as an example, a lady who at that time had lost her child 40 years ago. She came to one of our services and she said, this feels like a funeral for my child, because in those days, she didn't get to see her child. Whereas I had the night with, even though my child had passed away, I had the night with him. And she said all she saw was that the baby had been taken away in foil and she just saw a little hand. So there's this context that we have, but there's also the change that has thankfully happened along the years. When I lost my son, I was in the middle of the maternity unit and all I could see was newborn babies, whereas that too is slowly now changing and they have a special suite. So all of these things go a long way in the mental health that, you know, that you're talking about. Amneet, your turn.
Yeah, thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything to share on that subject?
I just wanted to share one of the comments. There's a comment that's come in, which I think it's really relevant and quite important.
Thank you. Thanks for keeping an eye on it as well.
Yeah, no, I was just reading through, and one of them says, a lady called Akshan Ali, and she said, I think we have to recognize having children is an expectation within the South Asian communities. Not being able to or having pregnancy loss is seen as a weakness or a failure. There is a lot of pride associated with fertility. And I just think it's it's so on point, because it's the truth. You carry so much of this, you know, the expectation is what you learn as you grow up, you know, along with the intergenerational, you know, what your mothers or your grandmothers or your grandparents have had, and then they teach you, you know, you get married, you have children, and it's just, that's how it goes, that's how the cycle goes. But all of this is you know, looked upon as failure, and you know, you're looked upon as a failure. That what's wrong with you? You know, there's something wrong with you. But I just think that point that this lady kindly has put up is quite important and quite spot on, to be honest. So that's all I was going to say.
I mean, I've come from so if we look at my grandparents, you know, they've had quite big families. So when I lost my baby, I'm like, oh well, this isn't really supposed to happen to me. Look, I've come from people who are clearly like very fertile, and it just, everything that I was struggling with, the fertility side of things, the loss, it was made worse by this thought that, you know, it's expected of me to be able to produce children. So it's really tough. Sujata, did you want to speak?
Yes, thanks, Amneet. I just wanted to pick up on the two things that has been said very nicely and eloquently. One was about this pressure on Asian women to be pregnant and to show that the world that they've achieved a big status as a mom. You know, and women, when they go through the loss at any stage of the pregnancy, have come and told us how badly they are treated. especially, you know, when there are family gatherings or functions and things like that, when only women who've had children are asked or invited to do certain, you know, rituals and things like that. So a sort of neglect when they especially know that somebody has had a loss or they have struggled to get pregnant, etc., etc. It is traumatic for the women, you know, not just from the incident as such, but also for years and years after that. The second point I wanted to raise is, you know, women do come and ask us about, or rather told by their mums and relations about, oh, you had a miscarriage because you were working too hard, you were working night shifts, you were running around, you were carrying these. So all these are all, you know, taboos or gossips as to all these can cause miscarriage or pregnancy loss, etc., etc. And there is enough research to show that that's not the case. And just by lying in bed, taking bed rest for the entire pregnancy is not going to improve the outcome, because there is much, much more to it. And, you know, I think it is important for women to be aware of that so that they can have that added help and hopefully be able to have a successful pregnancy in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for those contributions. Our time has actually been cut short slightly, so we've only got till 7:15, and there's just a couple of more subjects I just wanted to touch on as well. I'm really interested in hearing from Dr. Tina actually on this one, which is about mental health and stigma. The quote is, "Suddenly, as auspicious as it started, this situation becomes an unauspicious thing. And just as our society doesn't like talking about anything inauspicious, they shun the people experiencing the loss and shun the topic completely." So there's a lot of, as we know, there's a lot of stigma around baby loss, but also around mental health. And I think when you really can't have one without the other at the moment, because your mental health is severely impacted by the loss of a baby. So I'd really like to hear from you about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody has pointed out, they go hand in hand. And when any kind of loss is going to have some sort of psychological impact on somebody, you know, a loss of a parent, a loss of a job. COVID is a prime example of how loss can impact us as a whole society. So these psychological struggles that are then going to proceed, actually they should be normalized. You know that loss is actually part of living, and sadness and grief are all normal responses to loss. And the sad part of this is that actually we don't embrace loss. We don't embrace those deep feelings of sadness and grief that are actually expected. And, you know, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is the rituals that follow baby loss. Are they the same? Are they treated different? And what I've been hearing is that they are very different. And that, like people have suggested and have alluded to, is that, you know, a death of a child, a loss of a child or an infant is not the same. It's not valued as a death or a loss of an adult. And you know, the way that I've been thinking about this, actually the rituals and the various ceremonies that precede when there is a loss, actually it's not about the person that's gone. It's actually for the people that are grieving. If we look at our rituals within the South Asian culture, they're really about bringing people together to heal from that loss. You know, I'm a Hindu Gujarati, right? And when I've been to, you know, various rituals or ceremonies after somebody has passed away, we sing bhajans, right? And those bhajans are so healing and soothing. And I mean, obviously, I'm not, you know, kind of fluent in the languages that are sung, but when they explain to me, when I sit and really think about what is that communal space bringing, it's bringing, and there's one particular bhajan that I love, which addresses this idea of, you know, your atma, your soul's shanti. Now, can you imagine how healing that is, not only for just the person who may have lost the other person, but for the whole community. And that's the thing about South Asian cultures that I really feel is powerful, is that we come together. But sadly, when we talk about infant or baby loss, there is that element of people convening, but it's not the same level of healing that is usually, it's not the same. And I think that's the problem that we've got, is that we don't value and we don't see the loss and the normalization of grief and loss as the same thing. And I think that's something that, I can see many people are starting to challenge. And, I think that also we need to think about what is going to be appropriate for us as this new generation of mothers, that want to embrace and hold on to their culture, but also want to challenge the norms that have been set before us to help us to heal, because that is what we need. We need to create our own ways in which we can heal from these losses.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts and your contributions on that subject. Yeah, I mean, I resonate with a lot of what you've said. We've had a comment through from Asia Ali, who's said, when I had my miscarriage, I was told to stay home for 2 weeks as I was labelled as an evil shadow and that I may cause another miscarriage in a pregnant woman just by my presence. I mean, that's just shocking. It's just those superstitions. I mean, I know when you're talking about mental health, I know people who have referred to it as, it's caused by, some sort of like black magic and things like that. And like it's some sort of bad omens and things like that. It's quite awful, like the superstition part of it as well. But yeah, thank you for that comment coming through. The last topic I
just wanted to share a comment that I got on Instagram, which kind of doesn't relate to what was just said there, but it kind of just kind of means something as to why we all do what we do here today. And this lady, she tried to get onto the call. She got the link eventually, and she said, I've been sat here crying because I've never had anyone discuss my baby loss or seen other people in the community who I can relate to so much. And I really, really needed to hear this event.
Oh, thank you so much.
I just thought, that's exactly why we do these things, right? To connect to people like that.
Thank you. We've only got literally a few more minutes, and I want to hear from Elizabeth because I haven't heard from Elizabeth. But I want to talk quickly about cultural awareness and accessibility to services. So Elizabeth, you run one of the biggest baby loss charities, and obviously there are representatives of SANS here as well, and Tommy's. What do you do at your charity that, or what could you do you think, that could improve accessibility to the services that you offer?
Well, I think from listening to you guys speaking, there's a lot of things that kind of overlap and a lot of things that are seem very unique to the South Asian community. Things like, the superstitions that you discussed and the cultural ways in which they celebrate death and not baby loss. I think that needs to almost, what I think we could be doing is raising more awareness of that around individual communities. So, having the ability to direct Facebook posts, for example, or Instagram posts and target set groups. It may be that, for the intergenerational issue, that I know you said it's about breaking the cycle, but maybe the older generation won't have the reach of Facebook and Instagram and those sorts of things, but we can reach the generation that do and raise the importance of breaking that cycle and getting the discussion going with this generation, that we can get that conversation started. And I think I would absolutely love to get more feedback from people about what we could be doing, because although we are a large charity, there's only 2 of us that run it. So it's hard to get this kind of level of insight into other communities. So anything that anyone can offer that you think we could be doing or doing more of, to help support the South Asian community, I would absolutely love to hear it, because it's been really eye-opening to listen to your stories. And yeah, I would thank you so much for letting me be on the panel and for sharing the stories as well. But if there's anything that we should be doing or should do more of to bring that support, I would really love some feedback on that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So we're going to have to wrap up this event slightly early, which is a shame, because I think the conversation could go on and on. But thank you, all of you, for joining me and for being so brave and talking about your stories. To everyone who's been watching and commenting, this event will be available to watch on the YouTube after it's finished as well. But just thank you all so much, and I'm so grateful that I've managed to gather such a fantastic panel, and I just hope that this does something along the right lines to just open up that conversation that needed to happen. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amneet, and also good luck with your book.
Yeah, the book, it will be out. It is happening, and I will let everyone know in due course when that's ready. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.